All right, everyone. I'm excited to be here today. And as was mentioned, my name is Donald Kelly. I am the founder of an organization called the Sales Evangelist and also an adjunct professor at Brigham Young University, Idaho. And you're probably thinking, why am I doing an adjunct professor role and also in my full-time capacity running a sales organization? And the reason being, I love sales. And I was working with the BYU Idaho team when they were developing their sales program. I shared different insights, and they had a lot of other experts that helped them out as they developed their sales program. And they came back to me and asked if I'd be willing to do an adjunct for one of their roles as to help out with the sales development program. And I said, sure, I'd be more than willing to check that out. And I teach one class. It's in sales management right now. And it's exciting. And one of the other things behind that too, and I let them know because we're also working on my actual physical book, Sell It Like a Mango, that I'm working with outside organization, and then also obviously I'm also grateful to be able to be working with Stukent with their textbook as well. So it's pretty neat to be able to have this much experience working with young minds and sellers who are trying to develop and understand. So it's really, really cool. So I come to you today with one, an industry experience, two, as a practitioner, three, as a sales rep, and also four, as someone who is leading a class and leading some folks as well. And this is my promise. You saw it already. The goal that I want to have is that by time I'm done today, that you will see exactly why we need to help more and more business students take advantage of professional sales careers, and why we need to have these courses in universities all over the place. And I'm a big fan of this. I'm going to get pretty excited. So feel free to use the comments. Abigail, you will help me with the comments, right?
I got your back.
All right. So as Abigail shared, my bio was created, we've since had another little bit more podcast downloads added. So we're up to 3.4 mil total downloads. The podcast is called The Sales Evangelist, and would love for you all to find it, whether you listen to Apple Podcasts or wherever, and you can share that with your students in your class so you can check it out. But search The Sales Evangelist, or go on Google and search Best Sales Podcasts. And I should be on probably about 70 or 80% of those lists. So go ahead and give it a shot right now. All right. So here's our agenda, what we're going to do. We're going to break down these 5 areas. These are the 5 reasons that I've been able to share, not only from my own experience, but also, again, working with clients, working with students, and being an individual that came through a marketing department to come into sales. And I'll give you some stories. I'll give you some practical insights. I'll give you some tips. I'll give you some strategies on why I feel strongly with these. So here are the 5 reasons why every business student should go through some kind of sales training program. 1, the way we do business has totally changed, and we need programs that can help develop our sellers right now in college in preparation for when they get out into the world. Number 2, business students typically start off in sales, and I'll show you some stats on that. Nothing happens without sales is number 3. And this is a plain, simple given. And I don't have bias towards sales. It's just the simple truth, and the math proves it. Great salespeople are always in demand. They're always, always, always in demand, no matter what the economy looks like. And I have some more examples. I'll talk to you about that too, especially back when I graduated around 2010. So right after 2008, I saw some of those challenges. And then also we see that same thing happening right now post the pandemic. And I have clients who were trying to hire great salespeople and couldn't find salespeople to hire. It was amazing. And then the earning potential. So that's one of the other reasons why this is so critical and so important, that students are at least learn about this. Now, I put that last because money is not the most important thing. I had a sales trainer that always said, money is not the most important thing in the world, but it's right up there with oxygen. So take it for what it's worth. So the way we do business has totally changed. And this is the first reason why every business student should take sales. I'm not sure if you guys remember the old school way of doing things, but we remember the Fuller Brush man. The Fuller Brush man, he is the symbolic idea or image of what the door-to-door salesperson was like back in the days. They would go to your home, knock on your doors. They would try to sell you things. And later on, that became insurance. It became the Kirby vacuum guy, and you name it. And for those who are out west in Utah, Idaho, you know about those door-to-door security sales guys. And I'm not going to knock them because I did it for one summer. I was trying to get money for a non-paid internship in New York with a major company, name start with S and with an Oni. So you could figure that out. It was a non-paid, and I wanted to try to get to New York to get that. So I took advantage of this door-to-door security sales, and it was very lucrative, and I was able to gain some pretty decent money. The concept, however, with door-to-door security, door-to-door sales, this is where many individuals, when you first think about the idea of selling, comes from. They think about this, or they think about the used car salesperson. Now, how many of you, go in the comments, thought about used car salesperson when you think about sales? Just say yes. Yeah. All right. Maybe no. But the idea there is, again, it's an older way of selling. And what happened with the old school way of selling is that one individual has access to data, one individual has access to knowledge, and that individual is able to manipulate or able to have control over the situation. Now, that's the way old school selling was set up. And if you think about this type of setting when it comes towards sales in that capacity, it makes it challenging, or makes it difficult for us to be able to truly be effective to truly make it a great program. Because what typically happened in the old school way of selling, it was your personality. Did this person, or does this person have a great personality? And if they have a great personality, fantastic. Double up on personality, increase their product knowledge, and that person will be a great sales person. How could you teach personality in college? You couldn't. So for years, many individuals or many organizations just took sales and wrote it off and said, you know what, this is one of those things that you just have to be born with. You have to be good at in order to be effective at it. And we can't teach you on how to be effective. We probably could teach you some persuasion skills, but you can just go read a book and you can learn about that. But the discipline of accounting, the discipline of logistics, the discipline of finance, all those other things when it comes towards operation, running a business, those are things that we could take advantage of. Marketing, it's a science, but when it comes towards sales, again, it's just not that way. And then that's the reason why it was so difficult for years for people to take advantage of seeing sales in a powerful way. But the sales model has changed. The way that we buy these days and sales has totally changed. Now, you've all heard stats, or maybe you haven't, I'll share some with you, but buyers now are empowered. I don't know about any of you. The last product you bought that was over $1,000, I promise many of you, at least half of you, probably did some kind of research on that product. Am I right or am I wrong? Go ahead and put in the comments. What I saw in my experience, or see in my world as well, is that buyers now are getting more information from the web. So it's not that they're coming, and stats are out there that are kind of like off the chart, that are not fully exactly right. But the concept here is, what we're saying is that the buyers aren't coming 68% of the way through the sales process. What we're saying is that 68% of their buying process is conducted by reviewing information or interacting with parties other than the vendor they're considering. So they're doing a lot more research and coming to the table prepared. So the fuller brush man who had all the information no longer has his power or her power anymore. Now we have the buyers that the table have flipped, who have control. They're looking for information, and they can sift out the companies that they want to work with beforehand. Thus, we need to make sure that the sales is not now in the situation where we need personality and product knowledge to convince people. What we need are people who can be able to analyze problems, to be able to see problems and see around the wall, essentially, see around a corner, and to be able to help buyers and potential companies understand problems better than they know their own problem. And that's, if a seller can come as a consultant, who can come as almost like an analyst and be able to understand a problem to that level, they're able to help the buyer make a decision on the information they're already receiving. Thus, why we need programs to help professional sellers think and behave like this. If I'm making sense, say amen. That's not a religious thing. Just go ahead and say excited. All right. So you're getting what I'm getting at right now. So that's the first reasons why. The way that we sell, the way that people are buying now, totally changed. It has been eradicated. The old school way has been eradicated. We're doing things different. So that's the first one. Number two is that business students typically start off in sales. And I'll tell you my story. I graduated from Brigham Young University in Idaho, and I came back home to Florida, and I was recruited to come and work for a small company, family, friends. They had a company, and the company had been around for 25 years and been doing really well and thriving, and they were just growing. So they wanted to continue to develop their sales and their marketing arm. They knew that I studied marketing in school. So they said, well, this guy would be great. Donald would be awesome. And you know what they said too? He has a great personality for sales. He's He is outgoing. Now, Daniel Pink, if any of you read his book, To Sell is Human, one of the things that Daniel points out is that the best salespeople aren't typically outgoing sales professionals, especially in this new environment. And they're not the quiet one who are reserved and hiding. That's not the best seller either. The best sellers are what he calls ambiverts. These are people who have elements of both an outgoing as well as elements of more of a reserved personality. They're able to listen more so than the fuller brush man or the old school quick talking sales professional, and be able to understand buyer's situation and be able to come and to give thoughtful insights. So the ambiverts, look that up. Great book. To Sell is Human. But the concept here that I quickly learned was that when people tell you have a great personality for sales, that doesn't mean that you're going to be a great sales professional. And I learned the hard way working with that organization. The point is, they recruited me based on my personality and also based on the simple fact they knew me, and also because I was a marketing student. At Brigham Young University, that time period, the only sales class that I took was a part of a capstone or the end final program. And I think, and maybe you guys can correct me, any professor from BYU that's on here, the program was about 2 weeks that we'd studied about sales and marketing combined, and like 2 days where we talked about sales, professional selling, like 2 literal days about professional selling, 2 class periods. How is that going to help equip someone to jump out into the world, especially when the game has changed, when it has been totally shifted? So here's some stats I want you to be aware of. More than 50% of college graduates will hold their initial job in sales. Just like me, more than 50%. And the number of universities right now that are utilizing a program, I think it's probably around 400 have classes or a program that have some kind of sales emphasis or sales major. Again, and we have so many thousands of universities across the United States. That's a mere drop in a bucket when it comes to it. So many people are getting into the world not having that essential skill to help them to perform. Another one that I saw is that marketing majors start their careers in sales tops about 88%. So that was like me again. That's not a picture of me, by the way, but that was like me, where about 88% of marketing majors jumping straight into a sales role, because when it's all said and done, I was trying to get into Target and work at a company like that for marketing. But when you came to realize that marketing departments at Target they outsource a lot of that to their agency. A lot of those cool marketing things, you're going to be a research analyst or so forth. So I didn't understand how that was set up, but basically a lot of those companies will take you and put you into their business development programs or sales programs to start you. But I went to the web. I went to the most reliable source I could go to, obviously like Facebook and LinkedIn. And I started asking, how could learning sales in college help a new salesperson become successful in the professional world? And the answers were really interesting. I love this one by Patrick. It says, as with any college education, it provides important high-level theories and best practices that would take valuable time to learn via personal experience. And that part is just so critical, because just like me, what happened in this situation, I got out there in the world and I had to learn by the school of the hard knocks. I had to make a lot of mistakes. I cost companies money. And it was that learning that eventually got me to where I'm at. The issue, however, is that it wasn't efficient or effective. And we could have fixed that by having programs dedicated towards that in college. Number 2, Love Taylor. His high school had a class that was focused on marketing. And it was really, really interesting that happened with his class. At the very, very end, you could see where he says this professor taught them how to do basic things. But he said that every person in the class would probably agree it did more for our real world preparation than almost any of the class. At the end of the day, we all learned how to sell ourselves. And that is a critical component. Tyler, I believe learning sales make you learn how to communicate on a higher level with all different types of people. It forces you out of your comfort zone and is one of the fastest ways to grow as a communicator and listener. And I love Kurt. He started off in sales, but now he's working with Delta and one of the in Atlanta and doing some amazing things. But he says, I'm no longer in a sales role, but I have to sell every single day. If you can't persuade others to adopt a proposal, it will die and not happen. If you can't convince anyone to change, things don't improve. The same skill set used in sales roles are used to make things happen in any business setting. And he's seeing this right now in his role with Delta. The point here is that your sales students, your business development students, they're going to have that. And if they're not being equipped, we're doing them a disjustice. We're not giving them the best value that we can. putting them out there into a world where they don't have that experience. Dewan, one of my clients, I was going to get a chance to connect you guys with him, but he works with a company called Seismic. And one of the things that Dewan said, he sent me a message. He said, Donald, for me as a leader, one of the things that we see is that the ramp time for a sales rep would be totally shorter if we could help them. The average B2B sales professionals, the business development rep who are coming in, it takes them about 4 to 6 months to get ramped in a company. Let's say they go through a sales program for 2 years in a college or university. They go through that 2 years. That's going to shave off at least like a month and a half to 2 months of that basic sales foundation program that they would have to go through in their organization. Think about how that's going to bring money to that organization, and how that's going to help the individual to feel better and to perform much quicker and generate more money for themselves. This symbiotic relationship the only way we're going to solve this problem is if we can have universities and a business world to come together and to make this this lock. And I'm grateful for the fact that I'm working in a professional world and working with these large organizations, but I'm thankful for my opportunity with universities to help them to see how that can make that marriage happen. But you're in a powerful capacity. You're helping to shape these individuals to help them to go out and have success. And it's just so critical. Another place I want to make sure we can better get our understanding is that nothing happens without sales. I mean, absolutely. You and I both know this. Sales is on the grand scheme of this whole trajectory, on the grand scheme of this whole organization. You have every single different departments out there. You got human resources, you got marketing, promotion, customer service, you have sales, accounting and financing, distribution, research, development, admin, management, production, operation, information technology, purchase, legal department. You have all of these departments, and they're all important. However, if you do not have one department, none of this matter. Because I can tell you, even with venture-backed company, hey, they come back wanting their money. So if you are getting venture money, like your Series A, Series B, C, they're not going to keep giving you money unless you are generating money or have a plan on how you can generate money. Sales is that key issue. It's that key department. So if nothing happens in an organization until sales happen, and we're not training people or equipping them enough to go into sales, or we're taking the most important role and we're taking unprepared people and just dumping them into that role to tell them just go out and just talk to as many people and learn the product and become successful, that is just not efficient. I think we're going to look back at this time in 100 years and we're going to say, how in the world did we allow that to happen for so long? And this is why, again, I believe very strongly, so passionate that we need to teach them so that they can be successful when they get out into their capacity in their roles. For me, when I got into my sales role, again, it took me I did some sales in college. I did door-to-door security. I sold Dish Network. I got people to go to timeshare presentations. I even worked for a company where I did pretty well. It was an IT training company. We trained people on MCSE, Net Plus, A+ certifications. And I was able to make some pretty decent money and help them generate about $500,000 in revenue throughout my years working with that organization. The critical piece, though, was even though I had all of these, a lot of this was B2C, some B2B experience. It wasn't until I got out into business world that I was able to get the real training, that I was able to understand how the business process worked. Some of these things I could have learned early on, but I didn't have a guide. But once I was able to get that guide, because I got out in college and I started performing at these couple companies, and I was a mediocre performer, to be honest. And then finally, I was able to crack the code after getting some more training, and I saw a hockey stick in my performance. I started generating real good money, and I started earning some opportunities that were nice, like president clubs and so forth. This, however, only came because of the simple fact that I had to go through the school of the hard knock. And many salespeople don't make it past that time period because they get burnt out. They get beat up because they don't have the proper confidence or the training. So we have to make sure the most important department in these organizations are getting the most important and crucial education and training that they need. And that is through education from our level. I mean, if you think about it, again, sales, their responsibility is to generate revenue, to grow the business, make sure you have profits, retain the existing customer. All of those things fall back on the sales department. And we know that money or cash flow is the lifeblood of the organization. I think I'm beating the dead horse here. We understand now that everything hinged back on the success of the organization only if we're generating money. And in that capacity, we can't just wing it, and we can't just put people who are not prepared. We have to give people who are the best to be able to make that happen. I kind of find it like crazy that companies do that these days. They just throw anyone there as long as they could breathe. And that's not cool, because that doesn't work, and it costs the money. And this is why sales has a high turnover, because a lot of people are just not prepared. This is our wonderful friends from Shark Tank. We know we're talking about sharks here and gorillas a little bit earlier, but cash is the lifeblood of the business. Robert says there are very few things in a business that will kill you, but running out of cash is one of those things. You can recover from almost any other mistake, but if you run out of cash, you're dead. Your business totally die. And then obviously the great Mr. Sir Richard Branson says, never take your eye off your cash flow, because it's the lifeblood of your business. Again, critically important that we build up our sales. I've been rapping here for a few minutes, so I want to see if there are any questions that you all have coming up on point number 3 here. Going to the last few. Any questions popped up, Abigail, so far?
Not really had any yet, but we did have a comment about ABC. I'm sure you're familiar with that. Always be closing. That it set up a current stereotype. The idea is that to be a sales professional, you never have the luxury or permission of being off duty. What's your comments to that?
So if I make sure I'm getting it right, ABC, always be closing, is that what we're referring to?
Yes.
Okay. I absolutely hate that statement because it makes sense in a movie. And it's from, those who are familiar with it, is from Glenn Ross. And the concept behind that movie is just fictional. If you watch, there's no movie, there's only one movie I've seen, or a couple movies that have real good salespeople. If you make a movie about a good sales professional, it is like, it wouldn't make a box office smash hit. You want to find those movies that have drama, where somebody lied to someone and somebody tricked people and went to jail, like The Wolf of Wall Street, because that's drama. The issue is that people get that depiction of sales and say that's how you need to be a great sales professional. But those are not great sales professionals. Newsflash, those are all con artists, because they're tricking people into doing things. And those salespeople never usually last, as you can see. The best sales professionals are the one who, my philosophy of sales is that, our definition is that you help people to make a decision that's in their best interest, for which they will compensate you. But you're helping them to make a decision. We don't convince people. People have to convince themselves. Jeffrey Gitomer said, people love to buy, but they hate to be sold. So if I feel like I'm being sold, if somebody tells me that I was sold a car, I was sold a house, I can guarantee you that house is they're going to go back and try to get their money, or try to take that car back, because they were sold. But if somebody says, I bought a house, I bought a car, I bought in some new software, they're taking ownership, because they had an experience where they were a part of. And the new world of sales 3.0 now, where we're in, where the buyer has this luxury, or have this more information, or in demand, or in control, it requires the best sales professionals to come from it from that angle. And then going back to the other side of that, so ABC come from Glenn Ross, and in one of the scenes, they're telling them, you always be closing. And I think that's silly, because if you think about it, always be closing, you mean you're always trying to convince always trying to trick someone into getting something, or convince them to purchase. Let's first understand diagnosis. My philosophy, the close happens naturally after we do a great discovery. If I can sit down with a client and better understand their needs and their challenge, and be able to be a consultant and help point out problems they may not necessarily know, that buyer is going to close themselves, because they're going to recognize the gaps or challenges that they're facing in their organization, or could face, because I've helped other customers like them. And that enables or help them to be empowered to make a decision that's in their best interest. And not everyone, I don't close every business, because some people are just not fit or not right now. It allows me then to focus on the ones that are right. And one of the philosophies that we follow is ABM, the account-based marketing strategy. And there are great books out there on that. But this allows that your company, you focus on accounts that are more likely to buy, rather than just spray and pray to everyone out there and hoping that you something stick and people will purchase from you. It requires more sophistication in your sales and your marketing approach, and also your sales professionals' tactics. The second half of that question, can you repeat it again for me, Abigail?
That you never have the luxury or permission to be off duty. Yeah,
and that's that other idea too. I don't. In some companies, you fall in that category. It depends on what you sell. To be honest, where you're always on. The best organization, they have departments. So let's go back here to the slide. The best organization in their sales department have several things, where they have the sales reps, and you see this more in organizations now. They have the breakout of the sales roles. We have in my company, for instance, we have lead development reps. These are people that their job, sole job, is to get leads for our business development reps. They find the leads because that takes time. They find the accounts that we want to go after. My business development reps don't have to waste hours now researching. They're able to then go in and they have the basic information that they need to be able to have a meaningful discussion with those potential accounts. Then we also have the account executives or the closers that help to come in. They, after the initial part is taken care of, they help to be able to guide the person down the path, and they be able to help them to make that decision to convert. And then after that, we also have the client success or the support team that take care of them. In the old school way of selling, the one sales professional had the job to take care of all of that. So they were always on call. But in the best organization, they have that client success team that the account executive or closers are able to then pass the account off to, who can help to take care of maintaining that relationship. And that makes a huge difference that you're not just there. But if you're working in a very small organization where you are the sole salesperson, God bless you, because you're going to be taking care of all of that. And yes, you may have a lot of those phone calls and those late nights and those things. But I find that in the best organization, and most of the students that you're teaching nowadays, they're going to work for tech companies, and those people are spitting money left and right. So they are able to have those functionalities in their organization, which enables that the roles are differentiated. And the beautiful thing about that now is that we don't have just, say, when Joe leaves the company, Joe takes all the book of business with him. Is now that was disseminated across 4 different disciplines or the team. So then now that client is able to then stay more so with our organization. And that's one of the other huge reasons behind it. It's because sales has become more of a discipline like all the other departments out there. So it's changing that. So it's not the old school way. Hope that answers that question.
Yeah, that was really great, Donald. As a digital marketing graduate myself, I really wish I had realized how important sales was when I was still in school and took those courses. I feel like it would have been really beneficial. So if you're a digital marketing professor on here, definitely get this recording later, share it with your students, preach the importance, because it's really important. Thank you.
Cool. If any other questions, I'll have some time in a little bit here to make sure I can answer those. Great salespeople are always in demand. Great salespeople. If you can sell, you'll never be broke. And I'm being totally honest with that one. If you can sell, you will never be broke. And go back to what I mentioned in 2010. It's the opposite happens. Initially, what happens in companies is that they start to cut. When the economy goes bad, they start to cut all different areas. They start to cut different non-essential roles, or they start to cut excessive spending and programs and so forth. But the other thing that quickly happens right away is that an organization start realizing we need to drum up more business. So what they'll do, they'll dedicate money towards new salespeople. And it happened in 2010. You can go back and look at research. You can say, in 2008 and 2009, you can see that right after the dip, they start quickly hiring salespeople because they're or good salespeople because they're trying to get more business. And then also they try. I mean, even though it may seem like the economy isn't like perfect, some companies still have cash. And those companies are the ones that are able to scoop up some of the best talents. They get those talents and they have their playbooks where this is a part of it, where they will start their aggressive hiring when the economy goes bad to get the good salespeople from the companies, their competition. And that happens. So if you're a great salesperson, you're always going to be in demand when times are good or when times are bad. When times are good, you have the picking. When times are bad, people are going to come and want to get you because you know how to bring money in. And that's the thing that they don't have right now. So if you're mediocre, you're not so great, yeah, you might have a challenge. But those who can understand, those who are student of the game, those who learn the fundamentals, those who master it and always can come above quota and to perform, those are the ones who will always have an opportunity. In worst case scenario, you can always go for a job where you have full commission. Now, that may not be something that's going to be effective for someone with a family and you're trying to take care of life insurance and all that. I mean, health insurance and all that good stuff. But that is still an option where you can go to a company and say, listen, I will go on for 2 months and show you that I can perform on full commission. And then at that point, we can go ahead and do more of a, salary base and so forth. But if things are really, really awful, I mean, you can always find a gig if you're a great sales professional. And I'll tell you right now, I have there's a company called Get Sierra, and their software is pretty neat. It's basically a playbook. So when someone comes on the Salesforce, they know exactly the scripts they can use, the email templates, the messaging, and all of that good stuff. It's just all in one succinct place for them. And they're over in Germany, and they're trying to build out their US team. They're trying to build out their US team in 2020. They were trying to build their US team after the pandemic. They're trying to expand. I hope you guys can get where I'm getting at. This company was in the middle of the horrible things that were going on, was still trying to find new sales talent. And I cannot tell you how many people were reaching out to me and saying, Donald, do you know any salespeople? I'm looking for sales professionals. I'm looking for salespeople. This was during the pandemic. And again, because all of those organizations recognized that this is an opportunity for growth, and the way that we're going to grow is by getting great sales talent. So if we can get some of these students to be able to master business profession, business development, or master how to generate new business, master the sales process, they're going to be in a career that's always demanding. And I can tell you, like, for me, I remember coming home from college. Remember I told you I came back and got that job. I did speech and debate in high school. One of the most prestigious high school in South Florida is called Alexander W. Dreyfus School of the Arts. And now it's like about a mile away from my office downtown West Palm. It's pretty cool. This high school, when I went there, a lot of the students were from the island, the Palm Beach Island. So anyone who knows a former presidential candidate named Donald Trump lives on Mar-a-Lago. It's like a stone throw from where we are right now. And the people who live on the island are very wealthy. So a lot of these kids I was going to school with, and they're trying to get all of these amazing jobs. So I went on a mission with my church. I came back to school and I graduated and came home. So they were like couple years ahead of me. And I remember I met with this guy, and he was like, Donald, what are you doing right now? And he's like, I was like, I'm in sales. And I was so excited. But the look on dude's face was kind of like, oh, he didn't say it that bad, but it was pretty much could have picked up his job. But it was like, oh, okay. It's kind of like, sales is just like, who wants to do such a crappy job? You could do a lot better than that. And he was, I think he was one of the attorneys, local district attorney or something, working with some debater. So he went into law and was doing pretty decent with that. It was just that stigma that people put on sales, that it's this lower class job, that it's not skillful enough, that it's not as prestigious. And I got this feeling afterwards, like, oh, that maybe I shouldn't be so eager to talk about this role. And I started becoming shameful of being a sales professional. I'm glad I quickly snap out of it, though, because I started to realize everything that I've shared with you so far, that it was the most important role. And then I started realizing how we started changing lives as I started becoming even more successful in my sales capacity in software sales. And then the money came with that too, which is the next part. I am pretty sure that some sales reps, in my case, probably rivaling what he was making, working as some junior position with with the local, the courthouse or whatnot, public defender or whatever it was, the role that he was doing. The point here is that sales has opportunity. If it's in demand, there's opportunity to generate money, and there's really good earnings. And once I started making that money, I was like, listen, now I see why even so much more great salespeople get rewarded. I'm just going to show you some stuff here. This is an enterprise sales account executive, and this is across the country, just like average. If you're in California, it'd probably be a way higher than this. And then also if you're in cities like New York, but average salary, 75K, range anywhere from 54 to 133. And you're probably saying that's a huge range, but we explain why. It comes back down to, again, different parts of the country, different parts of the world. Average commission, 64K. I was working at a sales rep where deal size were anywhere from like that 50 to 100,000, get 10%. So you can start seeing the math, how that could add up. You close 6-7 deals a year. You can see how those large deals, enterprise deals, how they can add up. Your base salary was like around a $54,000 that I was generating. And you can see how this adds up. You can make over 6 figures real quick, and then you have bonuses and so forth. So with the different options, is a really good success rates there for enterprise sales reps. Pharmaceutical rep, a whole different beast all in itself, but a lot of those, I have friends and people in our community, in our sales community that are in the pharmaceutical industry. You can see the numbers here, anywhere between 50 to 118K with the commission and bonuses. You can see how that adds out. Medical device sales reps, I have experts that I work with are in that field as well, over $100,000 total compensation at potential earning. And then this is where most of your students are going to fall in as a business development rep. They're going to fall into that $48,000 category. I know when I first got out of college, I was making some dirt cheap money. I wasn't making this much money early on. But most of the tech companies are out there right now. If you go down to like Utah, you can, some of the, so those, I know you guys are right out there in the Silicon Slope. There are a lot of companies out there that will start you off anywhere between $35,000 to $70,000. You have bonus and you have profit sharing or commission. So you can imagine a student who went to medical school and went through a whole process, what their earnings will be after 12 years. Someone who can start doing that within a year of graduation. It's very, very possible. And I know people who are doing it because it works. It's amazing. You have to be good at your job. You have to know how to solve problems. And if you can do that, you're always going to be in demand. You're always going to have opportunity. And here's just a recap, the 5 reasons why I'm going to point back to. The way we do business has changed, and we better equip the way that our students are leaving our universities to go out into the business world. Because 1, it will reflect back on us. 2, it will be a disservice to them if we're not educating them and helping them be equipped to handle those positions. 2, business students typically start off in sales anyways. Let's help them to start off on the right foot. Let's make sure that all the university students that graduate from your university's alumni, when they get into the business world, the business world say, man, I'm going to get my students from University of Texas. So I'm going to get my students from University of Alabama. I'm going to get my students from Brigham Young University. I'm going to get my students from University of Florida or wherever, because the simple fact that those organizations have sales programs that are equipping them and shortening the sales cycle. So folks like DeJuan, those executives who are hiring people, can say, yes, these students are making my job easier. They're ramping quicker or starting to make money for our organization quicker, and they're not costing us. Number 3, nothing happens without sales. Absolutely nothing in an organization. No matter if you're the CEO, you're the marketing department, everyone needs money. The salespeople bring that money in and keep the lights on. So we need to make sure that they can understand that and equip them. Number 4, great salespeople always are in demand. They always have opportunity. And then number 5, the total earning potential. There's a lot of opportunities there for sales professionals. I'll sit on these and I will stand on these points because I've seen it. I work right now with companies will hire me to come in and do coaching for their sales teams. They also hire me to come in and train their sales professionals. They also put their salespeople through our online programs, and they also have me come and speak at their events and so forth. I'm headed up to Georgia literally after this in 45 minutes to go speak at an event at a sales conference, because this stuff is just that important for many of these organizations, and they're trying to become more effective. So let's help them to have the best salespeople possible. So that's all I have. I have some Q&A time here. I'm be more than willing to answer questions you have. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly, Donald C. Kelly on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Twitter, on all the platforms. I'm here, Abigail. Hit me with those questions.
Thanks. That was really awesome. There was a lot of sentiment in the chat about just how important this is and how much people agree, and you've inspired some people. So that's really great to hear. One of the first questions that we had come in was, do you teach the 80-20 rule? 80% of revenue comes from 20% of clients.
100%. I think you see it. You see it on many different fronts. And I think it really comes down to the type of clients your team is bringing in. Mm-hmm. But also, I would say go back on the sales side. The numbers add up right now on sales team that 80% of revenue does come from 20% of the sales force. I've looked at many different types of company, and we still see that happens. Your top performers just will be top performers, and they'll bring home those mammoth, so to speak. When it comes towards the clients, even on our front, we see it as well. Like some of our clients bring in the top share of our organization money. So what we start to do as a company, we started with the account-based marketing strategy that I mentioned. we then start to mimic and look for those clients that are bringing in the larger lion's share of our organization money to our organization, and those are the ones that we're spending more of our time up, so we can increase that number from just like, say, 20% of those that are bringing in 80% of the money. So that mimicking that lion's share is basic marketing, but if you look at account-based marketing, it's a whole powerful strategy that we will need like 2 days to talk about, ABM, account-based marketing. But the principle that it all comes back down to is, yes, you can see that, but you can increase that number with the 80-20 rule, increase that percentage of getting more business from more of your customer when you are able to firm up the type of customers you're going for. Because what typically happens in organizations, that salespeople will sell to whoever can breathe or who can give them money, rather than selling to the people who are the right fit for their organization. And that requires a good relationship between a sales and marketing departments.
Awesome. Thank you. Mary Beth said thank you in the chat for answering her question. So we have another one. I really like this one. How do you talk to your students about multi-level marketing and influencer marketing opportunities they may encounter? Would love some tips from you or other good ways to have this discussion.
I can come to your class. No charge. I'll come and talk to your students. This is fine. But the thing that I see with that one, I got pulled into it because when you're young and you have like, this rocket fuel or rocket jetpack tied behind you, and you feel invincible, then everyone try to take advantage of that opportunity to say, come and be a part of our group. With multi-level marketing, the way that I made my mistakes with it, I started doing one and I quickly realized how the system is set up. It's rigged in a sense. In some cases, where if you're joining early, you have opportunities. I mean, you can it's not like any type of trick to it, but if you start early on in that process, you have the opportunity to build out and have a bunch of people underneath you. Later you come into that, it's more challenging for you to build that out. And I'm not a believer in that type of sales setup. I want to make sure the playing field is leveled and there's opportunities for me to be able to succeed. And I've been a part of companies where I was able to outperform 15-year veterans because this playing field was leveled. We both went after the same type of customer. What was different was just our capability to be able to help people solve their problems. And if I can do better at that, then I think that's more effective. And I'm not a big fan of a lot of the multi-level marketing strategy, multi-level marketing things. But if some people are really convinced that they want to do that, I had a cousin that wanted to do it, and I just had him go through it. Just go ahead and learn from that. But I also tell them, come and look at the other side of professional selling and how that works in most of the corporate world and why it's set up this way. And I teach them and show them that process as well. So I think, make sure they can, if they really are bent on it, let them go ahead and try it and they can learn. But I think educating them on the way the system is set up on multi-level marketing, how it works, then that can be that can be effective. But again, I'm maybe tainted view, but most of the corporate side, in my experience with it's one-sided.
Thank you. So we have another question, one about self-doubt and building confidence, and that kind of goes with another question about getting across the importance to students who are not interested in sales, like just building their confidence in their interpersonal skills.
Yeah, there are programs out there, and one of the things that we teach, I literally before I jumped on the training today, I was having a sales call with a bank in Alabama, and this is one of the programs that we were telling them about. It's called Thought Pattern for High Performance Sales Professional. This program is built not just on skill set, but it's on mindset. So their issue, a lot of companies, after they have veterans who get the basic sales foundation and fundamentals, they start to see people start to taper off or become plateau. And it's not because these people don't know what to do. It's just the fact that these people don't behave on what they know they're supposed to do. Like you see with many major sports team, they have these athletes who know how to play basketball or soccer or football, but they still have performance coaches because these people's job is to help them to build their peak mindset to perform at a high level. We have a friend that works, Justin Sua, that works with Tampa Bay Rays, and that's his job. His job is to help build up their mindset and become is a mental coach. for them. So large companies do that, invest in that. For us, I think that's the next iteration you'll see in programs, is building folks up mentally so they can be equipped to perform at a top performer status consistently. And I know there's another question that came through that was asking about, helping Gen Zs and the younger generation who does have interpersonal communication skills to be able to interact in sales. That's one of those areas that we can help them out with, is by helping them go through like mindset or development programs to help them develop their self-confidence and to perform in that. But it's not affecting the younger generation, it's affecting all different types of people. Where we find that we have limiting beliefs that don't allow us to accept or act on those things that we know we're capable of. And a final piece to that too, when it comes towards Gen Z, there was a question that just popped up about it, is that those individuals who are falling in Gen Z and the younger millennial category, one of the things that we see that very well helps them is, there are two sides. Sales is evolving a little bit where there are communication channels where they can sell remotely towards their sell via social media or sell via non-verbal platform communication platforms. So there are opportunities out there for them, but I do feel that they can improve on their skills. We call it, and you've seen it in the industry, it's called omni-channel selling, where you sell via social, you sell via email, you sell via phone as well. But the younger generation, when we train teams on that, it's really just helping them to get past the mental barrier that holds them back. Lawrence had asked, what about social selling? I love it. LinkedIn makes me money. And I'm just going to tell you straight up, LinkedIn, we have a great partnership with LinkedIn right now. We're doing some things with them, but it is using LinkedIn to be able to connect with customers, connect with prospect. It is game changer. But we use it a lot internally in our organization. The book I'm working on with Stukent, my co-author and I, BJ Allen, we spent some time talking about social. Dr. Allen, he's a professor at BYU in their sales department. And one of the things that he and I are doing with this book is we have social selling chapter dedicated towards that, to show students how they could take advantage of those social selling skill. Anyways, I saw those answers, so I went ahead and answered those there real quick.
Definitely go for it. I think that's all the time we have. We have, I think, 4 breakout sessions coming out after this. So I will be in the room with Nathan David. So we'll see you all there. Thank you so much, Donald. That was amazing. The comments blowing up with just love for your presentation and how much they really believe in sales being taught to more people at the universities. So thank you so much.